Here's my frustration with the Podziemski. It's not on Podz. I like Podz, the player. He's been miscast as the starter on this team because they don't have other people around him. It's very reminiscent of a Giants lineup for many years that had, I'm going to throw some names, Yastrzemski in the 3-hole, or way back in the day, they had Benji Molina in the 3 or the 4-hole. And it's like, I like Benji as a 6, 7, 8 hitter. Right. I don't like Benji as a 3, 4, 5 hitter. I'm going way back in the day. You know what I mean? Like, Yaz gets a lot of heat. Yaz is a good ball player. Yaz is a really good ball player. But when Yaz is your 3 or 4 hitter anchoring a lineup day after day after day, he's miscast as that.
And then you see Freddie Freeman or Mookie Betts. You see Shohei on the other side.
And that's the way I view Pod. I like Podziemski at 22. Look, I hope he can continue to evolve his game and become a better player. And maybe, one day, a couple years from now, he is a legitimate high-end starter as a point guard. And I'm wrong, but I view him as a backup point guard. I don't view him as a starting 2 guard, which is what he was for big stretches of the last couple of years. I don't view him as a guy who's a 30 to 35 minute a night guy who's going to be the second guy in minutes per game on your team. That's not how I view him.
Here's Steve Kerr after the game, because I think a lot of us were watching it yesterday, and you saw him blowing up at Podz when Podz was caught midair, turns the ball over. It's like he needs to pull up and shoot there.
Too late.
I know, but I'm just explaining to the audience. We're just revisiting. Steve Kerr's ripping him on the sideline. We all saw it. Like, that was the angriest I've seen him get at a player, like, on the sideline.
His
young player like
so
that.
Bad yesterday.
It was bad. And Stan Van Gundy was like, and it was like, he's like, yeah, he deserves to get ripped right now. Like, that's what you're doing to the young player. He's got to tell him to be more decisive. This is a do or die scenario, and you're getting caught midair. That can't happen. Steve Kerr after the game wanting to Podz to shoot the ball more.
There were times in the series where he was hesitant to shoot. Even tonight, he was 4 for 6. I thought he could have gotten 10 or 11 threes off, and we needed those. And I told him that after the game. I said, when we get back here next year, you are not going to turn down a single shot. And that's part of the playoffs. I lived it as a player. It's a mind game. I call it, something more profane. The playoffs are they are a mind game. It's really easy to lose your confidence. Teams throw different schemes at you. You have a bad game, and everybody's talking about your shooting percentage, and you feel like you're on an island. I've been there, and it was great for Brandin to go through that and then finish the series with a great game, because he's got to understand this is what it feels like.
Steve Kerr wanted him to shoot even more yesterday as Brandin Podziemski finished the game 11 of 19 overall, 4-6 from beyond the arc, 28 points.
It's insane. He sees something I just don't see. I hope he's right.
I don't know if
he's put a lot of time he's put a lot of time, and he's put a lot of the Warriors' future eggs into the Podziemski basket.
Not just him, though.
He better be right.
The owner, too.
No
Joe Lacob loves him.
They better be right. They better be right, because there's a lot of hey, great experience, and I'm like, well, that better pay off.
Let's go to more of the calls. We got stacked phone lines. Callers have been on fire today. The guests are the callers today at 888-957-9570 as they appear on the River Islands guest line. Isn't it time for you to discover the islands, River Islands, and Lathrop, Joe?
And I think I speak for a lot of Warrior fans with I'm not trying to hear about the development of Podz while we got Steph Curry going with maybe a couple of years left.
No, I feel you.
I'm not here for these experimental runs of whatever the runway is for the remainder of Brandin Podziemski's career. Look, God bless him. He's a Warrior. I root for him. I think he's a useful player. I think he's a good, solid player. He can really help you win. But the development portion and all that stuff, that's not why we're here. That's why you benched Kuminga the last couple of years, because we're not here for the development. That's why Wiseman got sent packing, right? So, what is it, y'all?
KC, San Jose. Good morning, KC. What was your most frustrating aspect of this series loss to the Minnesota Timberwolves?
You know what, guys? Before I get into my most frustrating aspect, I will say this. Personally, if Draymond calls me over to his house right now, I will help him pack up and find a perfect school for his kid at a new place. That's how frustrated I am with Draymond the last 5-10 years. That being said, the thing I'm most frustrated with is how casual some of the fan base is. You know why Julius Randle, he's a nice player, but all these years he wasn't this guy. You know why he turned into Karl Malone for these 5 games? And why Draymond couldn't stop him? Because we didn't have Steph. Draymond can be an elite defender still if Steph's gravity is putting pressure on our offensive end, which tires out the Julius Randles of the world. But Julius Randle, if you, Shasky, I know you watch all the games 2-3 times. You watch him in these 5 games, the dude was not playing defense because he didn't need to. So he could put everything in onto his offense. That's why all the shots were going in. His legs were fresh because there was no pressure on him defensively. That's why even Draymond, yeah, he's not the same defender he was 10 years ago, and I would love to get him out of here, but he couldn't stop him because the guy had fresh legs for 5 games. Watch Julius Randle next series. Let's say it's OKC. He's going to go back to the Julius Randle because he's going to have to play in a pick and roll with SGA, and watch what happens to his offense.
It's KC in San Jose. I will say this about Julius Randle. I know you don't think much of him. He was incredible in the first round, too.
I already apologized to him.
He was incredible. It's okay to tip the hat and say,
a revelation.
He's really good.
He's having this is what he's having right now. He's having an Andrew Wiggins-like playoff run that has completely changed my perspective of who he is as a player.
Yes.
And I owed him, and I will give him another apology. He was brilliant. I'll just read you. I wrote down his series
in the playoffs.
stats.
The Jamal Murrays of the world as a number 2. The Andrew Wiggins was a number 2. Like that's what happens. Players emerge.
His floor game was brilliant. 8 for 27 from the 3, 22 of 23 from the free throw line in the series, 25, 6, and 7.5. 25, 6, and 7.5.
Decisive.
And didn't have to play heavy minutes.
No, didn't look like, and he was awesome. And you just look at the size of a player like he's actually kind of built like LeBron, just big guy, like 6'8", 6'9".
He's more athletic than you think.
He's more athletic than you think.
And the left-handed thing allows him to get his shot off.
Yep.
Because it's unorthodox.
Exactly. Miles is in Fort Mason, wants to join the conversation. 888-957-9570. Miles, good morning. How are we feeling about yesterday's loss and the Warriors season coming to an end?
Oh, good morning, guys. I think it was frustrating on all levels. Player performance, injuries, coaching, and roster construction. And, you guys have touched on it all. And look, this is the completion of the 3rd season since we won the title. And more players have left than we have added to benefit our team. We've got draft picks here or there, late second round, TJD, Quentin Post, of course, Jimmy, that's the biggest standout, of course. But, Shasky, to your point of what Steph's thinking, he's a run it back kind of guy. Things would have been different if I would have been in there. You could just see him say that and how deflated the team was. And so, okay, if we're going to go down this road of running it back, what is the bigger need on our team? I'd say 95% of people are going to say offense, but I say our defense is equally
I think let me stop you. Perimeter defensive stopper who can play in that first lineup is the mandatory addition as well as a big. I think Draymond has to come off the bench. I think it's 2. I think I have 2 distinct needs, and they're equal. A rim defender, and they need a perimeter defender who can be in the starting lineup at the 2-guard spot.
And, it's offense and defense. And, of course, if Steph was in there, but Shasky, to your point about development just now, it's not the time for Podziemski's development. But my point going into the playoffs was, almost pencil in Steph and Jimmy for 60 points. Like, what about our other guys? Like, who's going to fill in that 15, 20 points to give us that? And, on Podz specifically, I looked back at that 2023 draft as to see, like, we should have drafted this guy. There weren't many gems behind him, so, and he was, 29 points last night, little too late. But, I think he does pretty well. His confidence got shook. To Kerr's point, I loved his more profane comment. But he is coming along. But to the player performance aspect, to me, the Minnesota series came down to Game 4. We had it 2-1 at home, risking going down 3-1, and that was a pathetic effort from everyone on the floor. So, players bear responsibility of this as well. I think they run it back again next year, and unfortunately it doesn't bring a lot of hope. I hope, to your point, we get some defense in the draft, but, it's sobering. We had a great run this last decade, but there's not a lot we can do, and this is kind of reality.
So look, your point on Podz.
Miles.
This is how we have to operate, okay? And this is why I just think he's in a no-win situation. I'm talking about Podziemski. He's in a no-win situation. If Curry is going to be in one of the guard spots, whether you think he's a point or a shooting guard, it doesn't matter. Curry is one of the guard spots. The other guard who starts alongside of him has got to be able to mask whoever it is as the best perimeter offensive player on the other team. We know it can't be Jimmy, and Jimmy's probably going to play the 3, right? Probably. Okay, we know it can't be Jimmy anymore. It just can't, all right? We don't have Wiggins, so it can't be Wiggins, right? That 2-guard guy has got to be a defender at an adequate enough level to be able to offset the deficiencies for Steph Curry so that he's not chasing around whoever their best perimeter guy. So let's just, hypothetically, you're playing the Lakers. It's Luka Doncic. Well, Curry's not guarding Luka.
No.
You don't want Curry guarding. Your 2-guard has to. Well, if it's Podziemski, well, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
Is Podziemski going to get stronger? Maybe. Is he going to get faster? Probably not.
You're not getting taller.
Not going to get taller. You're not going to become all of a sudden infinitely more athletic. Okay? Now, he's a willing defender, but he's not a great defender. All right? And so there's got to be lateral
I
quickness.
say he's opportunistic at times.
Sure. Watch the games. Rewatch all the games. He gets crossed over, and he's playing behind the offensive player too many times out of that. And so, to me, that 2-guard spot, or whatever you want to call it, it could be a point guard who plays defensively, tenacious defense and is longer. It is vital. It's vital for them. And I haven't even gotten to the big who has to play alongside Draymond Green if he's still your starter. But, that 2-guard spot does them in. So, getting back to Podziemski, he is a good pick. He is a good player. But when you're asking him to be the guy at guard alongside Curry, you're going to be at a defensive disadvantage 9 out of 10 nights, no matter who the opponent is.
Well, Jimmy Butler echoed those same sentiments, Joe, after the game, saying it really doesn't matter if Steph was here or not if we can't stop guys on defense.
Exactly.
But I don't think it's ever the offense. I think tonight they shot 62%. So if we can't stop guys from putting the ball into the basket, it's going to be hard either way. So I'm not going to say that our offense was a problem. Guard the 3, and make them miss a little bit more.
Exactly. It always comes back to defense. We want to think about the Warriors as this offensive juggernaut and them changing the league and Steph changing the game, all of that. That's all well and dandy. When the Warriors were at their best, they were a 2-way team. They did it offensively and they did it defensively. And yeah, Steph was covered up sometimes there, but he wasn't some slouch even when they were winning. But when Brandin Podziemski, the likes of him out there, who is probably at best a backup point guard on most championship type of rosters or playoff rosters, yeah, it's going to get exposed, especially against a long, big, athletic team like the Minnesota Timberwolves. Hell, even against the Houston Rockets, the Rockets, they're just not good offensively. The shooters just aren't there yet. The Amen Thompsons of the world.
But who killed us?
Fred VanVleet.
Okay.
A guy who is not big, though. Just rolling up there, chucking up those threes.
And who slowed down Amen Thompson?
Who slowed him down at times? JK. Are you saying?
No one.
No one really.
No one. Exactly.
Yeah. Minutes,
for a guy
no
that
one
doesn't shoot.
Yeah.
So that's going to be their problem no matter what. Let's look at what OKC has. They've got 2 dynamic guards.
Right.
So I guess where I'm going as again, I go back to Podz is miscast as a starter alongside Curry. He's in an unfair spot, and I think you got to start there. And what do they end up doing? They end up starting a GP2 every now and then. They start a Moses Moody. They were searching to find that other 2-guard spot, and they've failed to find a guy really for the last 4 years to replace the Klay Thompson defensive production.
From the 408 on the Boxer and Gerson work injury attorneys text line, they won't say anything because, quote, no excuses, end quote, but Jimmy looked hampered. He was not the same this series, something ailing him. Yeah, he has a deep glute contusion. He's talked about it ad nauseum, and he's dealing with the flu. There you go. They have said it, but they're not going to say no excuses. It doesn't really, that's baked into the equation. Everyone's hurt. Anthony Edwards is dealing with an ankle injury. Julius Randle's played all season. Everyone's hurt. So, again, that's fine. Jimmy looks hampered. He just wasn't good enough. Shooting the ball, defensively, no one was good enough in this series once Stephen Curry went down. And that's why a lot of people are frustrated. We want to hear your number one frustration right now. 888-957-9570. More from the Boxer and Gerson work injury attorneys text line from the 415. Most disappointing for me is the rotation. No Post or Moody until the 4th quarter last night, and look what happened. They hustled and brought the game to single digits, then cursed them. Yeah, I mean,
by yesterday,
that meant nothing to me when they cut
it was over.
I'm going to keep it a buck. It just because what happened right after, they pushed it right back to 14. Like, great.
Joe, they didn't have enough shooting. They were in a zone because they can't guard anyone. They have no paint protection. They have no point of attack defense. Look, they weren't good enough.
They weren't good enough.
And look, Steph Curry masked a lot of those deficiencies. And even then, you went to 7 and needed Buddy Hield to be Superman for you to get past the Rockets.